What's up, everybody? It is Friday, February 26th, 2021. We'll wait for everyone to get here, but this is Music Business 101 Q&A with me, Sean Healy, and our special guest tonight, Atron Gregory. Legend, man. I met Atron probably 20 years ago, but he's been around forever, and he was a manager for Digital Underground, and then, as you guys know, Tupac came out of Digital Underground, and then he managed Tupac. So we're going to talk about the music business then and now. Before we even get into Atron, I want to kind of give you guys the update on what's going on, because it looks like there's some progress being made with, some venues maybe opening back up. Clearly, the vaccines are out, so this is all like amazingly good news. So I think this is our 8th or 9th one of these that we've done, and we've got great stuff coming up too, which I'll get into in a second. If you guys have questions tonight, we're going to rock for about an hour. Put the questions below in the comments. I've got Nelson here. Nelson will feed your questions. They can be questions for me. They can be questions for Atron. They can be about Tupac. They can be about Digital Underground. They can be about NWA and Ruthless Records, where Atron worked as well behind Jerry Heller and Eazy-E. So we can talk old school stuff tonight. We can talk about the new stuff. You guys can ask me what's going on with shows. Where are the shows? There's a lot of really, really good stuff happening, but obviously COVID has still messed up everything. It will be impossible to tour like artists once did for 20 and 30 city tours. That's just not going to happen this year, and it may not even happen next year, honest to God, because you're going to go city by city, and different cities are going to have different regulations. Some cities, Florida, Miami, like wide open, whatever, go ahead, sell tickets. But like LA, you can't do anything, you can't move. So it's going to be really hard to route a tour from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between. What I think is going to happen, though, is I think that there's going to be some limited capacity stuff, and you'll have to do an early show, and you'll have to do a late show, and they'll sort of be hybrid shows. There'll be a live stream mixed in too. So I don't think full capacity shows are coming back for a while. 20, 30 city tours, not happening for a while, although agents and managers are trying to book them. But the reality is there's too much going on in different cities, so it'll be hard to piece together. But I do see light at the end of the tunnel. I do think even in Los Angeles, we'll probably have 25% capacity indoors. Within the next 30 to 90 days. In LA, you'll be able to go to a bar and a show inside, but it'll be 25% capacity. As far as the outdoors go, Disneyland, partial Disneyland is opening. Magic Mountain's planning on opening out here. Dodger Stadium, they're even saying opening day, 25% potentially. So I think you're going to see some outdoor live music stuff this summer at reduced capacities, and then I do think some of the indoor stuff will happen as well at reduced capacities at about 25% to start with. So that's all good news, because that's better than it was a couple months ago. So I want to see everyone at the clubs again. We want to book all the artists. We want to, have 3 shows going on a night in different time zones. We love that. That's what feeds us. But we got to hang in there, and for those of you in the music business and some of you who are musicians, check in on your concert friends. Check in on your friends and family that work in concerts, because we're literally going to be the last people to go back to work as we were. It sucks. There's some stigma attached with live music and crowds and germs and virus spread and all that. There just is. If you talk to these county health assessors, they think live music is the devil, and they think a singer is going to spread COVID everywhere. So that's just the reality, and I've heard that from a lot of people that are working venues and whatnot that have to deal with the health departments. Live music is like the spreader. So it's going to be tricky, but things are looking up. A couple notes first before we bring in Atron. We are on Clubhouse now. So we're on Clubhouse. It's at We Book Bands. We're going to do an SHP roundtable coming up soon. So if you're on Clubhouse, follow us at We Book Bands. We're going to be hosting some things on there too, and we might even do one of these on there coming up real soon. So Clubhouse at We Book Bands. Coming up shows, live streams. I talk about this every month that we do this. We're doing the live streams. And they're awesome. The quality, the platform we're using, the cameras we're using are amazing. So, I know some people are still uncomfortable with live streams and they don't want to do it because there's no crowd or they think it's going to look corny. But the reality is the live streams that we're doing are top quality. And so coming up, we have Domo Wilson on March 6th. We've got the Free Nationals, okay? Anderson's band, the Free Nationals. We're doing that March 12th. We've got Little Zay Osama on March 19th. These are all live streams that we've booked. We've rented the venues. We've got camera crews coming in. We're selling merchandise for these shows. So, the live streams are the way. And we're actually looking for supports on these shows. So if you're interested in Domo Wilson, Free Nationals, or Little Zay Osama, and your music fits our bill, hit the link in the bio. We've got our available gigs up there. We've got our newsletter there. And you can sign up and you can get on these shows. You don't have to be from LA where we're shooting them. You can be from anywhere in the world and you can send in your performance or your video and you can get on these shows. But live streams are here to stay. They're not going away. Even when things when things get back to normal, the live stream is still going to be a part of it because these venues can only hold so many people. So that's that. So I'm going to bring in Atron. You guys, please put your questions, comments in the bottom. This is for you. So, you're going to get some real OG advice here for free. Okay, this is for free. We do it for you. So please ask some questions. I'm going to bring them in right now. Okay, this is Atron Gregory. Let's see. There he is.
Hey, it worked.
What's up, man?
Oh, man, everything's good. How are you? Just, staying out of the way like most of us.
Oh, man, I know. It's, when we start these things, I like to kind of give everyone a pep talk on the live music scene and the state of it, because we have a lot of musicians and bands that will be in here and a lot of people that are in the music industry. So I always try to update it on what I've heard. We participate in seminars and chats, and obviously on Clubhouse lately. I've been in some of those rooms. So I always like to talk about the state of the live music industry as it is now, mainly COVID related.
Yeah, I saw that. I have questions for you.
Well, we stay up on it. I got Nelson here. He's out on the patio, and we have our crew, and we try to stay as informed as possible. And really, all you can do at this point is just guess, But I think it's coming back at 25% capacity indoors and outdoors in the next 30 to 90 days.
Yeah, I saw Earth, Wind, and Fire booked here at the Concord Pavilion, and they originally last year were supposed to do a Santana and Earth, Wind, and Fire tour. And I think it's the same tour. And I saw they booked 4 shows in California, all out. I think 3 outdoor and 1 casino, Indian casino.
Yeah.
And casinos do pretty much what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then I looked on their website just a couple of days ago, and I saw they had a whole routed tour. And when you were just talking a few minutes ago about there's not going to be 20 or 30 city tours, and I saw that they had a routed tour, I was like, man, that's interesting. I have, friends that are in the band, so I was going to call them and ask them, or text them and ask them, are they really going to? Is it just that it's booked, or are they really planning on being out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of business that's being done that's not business, that's not real business. You know what I mean? There's a lot of agents that are trying to look busy by canceling and moving and postponing and routing, but that's all just, that's all fluff because we don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as far as those big bus tours go, with big crews and heritage acts or even big, you know, current pop acts, I mean, it's just not going to make sense for them to tour when there's 25% capacity because they're not going to get paid the money they need for these big tours, and the venues can't live at 25%.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, if it was going to be a 25% capacity or what they were going to do, because
That's what I think, and I think you're going to start seeing it with baseball April 1st. I think Dodgers, the A's, and the Angels and the Padres, I think they're going to be approved for 25%. You know, which is 10,000, 12,000 people in those stadiums. But you know, if your artist normally plays a 10,000 cap room or stadium, and now they can only have 2,500, there's no way to really make money, I don't think.
Yeah, unless they're charging triple or quadruple the price for tickets.
Right, which some people will buy, and you know, in our world, you know, we still it's been a minute since I've seen you, but we've sort of grown into one of the leading independent concert promoters in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we buy shows, we're routing now. We have markets all the way from Chicago to Seattle.
Right.
So when we submit for an artist, we're sending in Portland, Seattle, Sacramento, Phoenix, Chicago, New York, San Antonio. You know, so we've gotten into all these markets. Most of our rooms are 1,000 and under.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to be able to do some shows still, because those venues, you know, 1,000 cap theater doesn't cost you nearly as much to operate as a 10,000 cap room.
Sure.
You know what I mean? 1,000 cap theater can open up for a couple grand. You know what I mean? Or do an early show and a late show and factor in the bar. You know, so I've maintained, and I've told my staff this since day one. I said, you know, we're probably going to win in this. When they press open, because that's what they're going to do. The governor and the mayors are just going to say, okay, bars can open 25%. You know, and so none of these venues are going to have, you know, anything scheduled. They're not going to have programming because no one knows.
Right.
So, but it is definitely encouraging. We've been doing this since July. And, you know, this is just our give back, but we've been working the entire time. So we haven't stopped. And I'm so glad to see you because, you know, you have such an amazing history. And what I'd love to talk to you about tonight, and we have some questions that were sent in and people might pipe in. And, you know, also we keep this on our IG TV and on our YouTube channel. So even though people aren't tuning in live, it'll live and they'll see it, you know, another time. So this is all valuable information.
One of my close friends and ex-artists just popped in. I just saw her, MC Smooth. You may remember her as.
Yeah.
But she has her regular name up here, so I won't say who.
Okay. Yeah, we get lots of people jamming in here. So I want to start with really your background. You know, I know you from Digital Underground from the first few times that we booked digital. So that's how I know you. But take us back to, like, you know, you started around, was it 86, 87 with Rodney Franklin?
It was a little earlier than that. It was probably around 1979 or 80. I was just going over this yesterday with somebody on another podcast. And it was probably about 79 or 80 when I started tour managing for Rodney Franklin. And I was in college, and so I'd go out on the road and take a bunch of incompletes and then have to come back and try to, you know, see if I could finish classes or start the next semester, and then I'd be gone again. And, you know, finally I just stopped and finished college. But that's when I started. And
then you met, when did you meet Jerry Heller?
So Jerry Heller ended up managing Rodney.
Okay.
So that was a little bit after I was touring with Rodney, but, you know, I still had the semi-relationship with Jerry. So when I moved to LA, I called Jerry and asked him, I want to get involved with some music. What can you help me with? And he introduced me to Lonzo from World Class Wrecking Crew. And I used to go down to Compton every day, and I wasn't working with the group, though. I was working more with the label, Crew Cut Records.
Right.
Back then in LA, I would say 85 to 90% of the groups had their own label. And they just, they went in the studio, however they could get in, did a song, did a couple versions of the song and pressed a single. And, that's how everyone was rolling in LA at the time.
And then you were part of another company after that with West Coast Record Distributors?
Yeah, so that was still Crew Cut. So West Coast Record Distributors was World Class Wrecking Crew, Egyptian Lover, Unknown DJ, LA Dream Team, and I can't remember who else, but there were 5 companies. And what happened is everyone kind of got into it with Macola at one point or another. Macola was a distributor, and they got into it about getting paid. So, we had all the relationships that Macola had because we were also doing the business, but Macola was pressing and shipping and collecting. So all we did was we took the pressing, shipping, and collecting out of their hands and started doing it ourselves. So we were shipping all across the country. Lonzo and I had went to it was a conference in I think it was Pasadena or Palm Springs or somewhere, and we met with the distributors and said, hey, if we came directly to you, would you take our business? And they're like, sure. So we left Macola, went to Rainbow Records and started pressing our own stuff. Everyone went to Rainbow, started pressing their own stuff, and we started our own distribution company.
And then that lasted for like a year or two?
Yeah, it lasted for a little bit over a year.
Okay.
There's some things that not all of us knew at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everyone was doing the right thing. So if you get an order for 50,000 units, you don't ship 50,000, you ship half, because if you ship 50,000, what happens is when it's time to get paid, they're going to send you 25,000 units back opposed to your check.
Got it.
So, it just became
interesting. It's just crazy how things have changed. And
yeah.
so that you do that, and then you get to Ruthless with Jerry Heller and Eazy-E. How does that transpire? I know you already met Jerry Heller from Rodney, but how does the Ruthless Records position create itself?
With World Class, I was also working with Dre and Ice Cube, who had a group called CIA on Crew Cut Records, and also Yella, who was part of World Class Wrecking Crew too. And then Easy I met because being at Lonzo's house, initially everyone would use Lonzo's studio. Long before everyone was using Audio Achievements, Lonzo had a studio in the back of his house, and so Easy would come in. So it was just kind of a natural process. And when they left World Class, the show started drying up, the songs started drying up. So it's just a natural evolution to move over and start working with Ruthless, because I already had the relationship with everybody.
And at Ruthless, you were A&R and you were tour managing?
So I was tour managing, and I would say A&R, but not A&R in the traditional sense. But A&R is just I was, always communicating with everybody, but not A&R in the traditional sense of curating the music.
But you were third in charge behind those guys.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
So it was Eric, it was Jerry, and then it was me. And then later on, Gary Ballin, Jerry's cousin, came in, and then after I left, or as I was leaving, Terry Heller, Jerry's nephew, also came in and was
right
along with accountants, lawyers, bodyguards.
Yeah, and so NWA was signed to Ruthless at this time, right?
Yeah.
And did you? I mean, obviously, there's movies about it, and there's documentaries and whatnot. Yeah. Were you privy to the contracts?
Not really. I was privy to the concepts of the conversations, but I was not necessarily privy to the specificity of the contracts.
Right. And was like when things kind of went south, were you caught up in it, or had you left by that point?
I left a little bit after Ice Cube left.
Okay. Did you see the writing on the wall, or you just wanted to do your own thing?
I wanted to do my own thing. It wasn't so much writing on the wall. It's more just, I appreciated the work. I appreciated the opportunities, but, my goal was to always do my own thing.
There's Chaz Hayes. What up, Chaz?
Hey, Chaz.
We got to get you on here next, man. So you leave Ruthless and you start TNT. right? Did
Hmm.
you take anyone with you from Ruthless?
No.
You just started TNT was management and a label, right?
Yeah.
And you just started that like,
That- that- I was on with a friend of yours, Shock, earlier today.
dude, is he gonna join?
No, he's not going to join. He's out relaxing in Florida. But
Okay, so I was gonna do this later, but we'll jump back in. But
but the
you
reason
led me right in.
he's like, move your head to the side, man. Let me take a picture of that because he's the one that did that logo.
So Shock has been to my house. He's spent the night here. He's
Hmm.
been to Super Bowl parties here, and he's one of my favorite people. And years ago, he let me proofread the book that he was working on about Pac. But one of the things he did, I don't know if you were at the show or not, but the first time I ever had them play the House of Blues Sunset Strip, which I don't even remember the date, but I'm going to figure it's 2004 or 5 or 6. But he gave me these
Oh wow,
and
nice.
he painted House of Blues on the nose.
Oh, that's nice.
And he handed them to me on stage.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah. So, and I put them in this box. So it's the House of Blues logo and the whole thing, and he hand painted them, and
Hmm.
it's on my bar, and it's very special to me. So I
Yeah.
love Shock. So I want to reach out to him because he's a wonderful guy.
Yes. Yes.
So that takes us into TNT. So who's the first artist you sign at TNT?
We were just talking about in Digital Underground.
And how do you find digital?
So ironically, Rodney Franklin knew Jimmy Dwight, and so Jimmy went to Rodney and said, "Hey, I have this group. This rap group's not really your thing, but do you know anybody?" And Rodney knew me, so he connected me and Jimmy, and then Jimmy and Shot came down, and we were at a restaurant in the Valley. I want to say it was North Hollywood, Thai restaurant. I think it was maybe Van Noen. I'm trying to remember exactly, Victor
Yeah,
and
it's a long
Woodman,
time.
or Van Noen and Woodman, I think, something like that. And they played me the music, and was what I was looking for at the time was something unique and different, because that's kind of what I was used to. I mean, World Class was different, NWA was different. I mean, even JJ Fab, if you think about it, was different. So what
Mm-hmm.
I used to was something that was different from what everyone else was doing. So that's what I was looking for, and that's exactly who they were. And I'm like, let's do this.
And so who was sort of in charge of digital at that point? Like in the early beginnings, was there a captain?
I would say Shock. Shock's always kind of been the captain, but him and Jimmy were partners early on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dissipated like all groups. Members come and go, people break up, things happen. But it was definitely Shock was in charge, but Jimmy was his partner.
So you signed digital to TNT,
Mhm.
and so what's the process? Especially for like some of the younger cats in here. So what's the process of signing them to producing a record to getting it on the radio back then?
Well, back then, so the process was really pretty simple. We signed them. They had the music already. So we just went in and did remixes for Underwater Rhymes and Your Life's a Cartoon, or mixed it. I don't know if it's necessarily remixes, but mixed it. And this at that time, McCullough still was giving people opportunities, so it was, really pretty easy. Once you have the master, you take it to them and say, well, will you press my record? Will you distribute it? And they're sure. And so they, back in the corner in the dark upstairs, they had someone up there that was doing promotion, calling the radio stations for all their records all day long. And so I go up there and talk to him and ask him to, call on our record, and he did. And I got an opportunity to get a record on, get Underwater Rhymes on KSOL up here. And it's no different. You have to hire promotion people.
Yeah.
And that was like right at the time I was still working, actually I had started my company while I was still working with Ruthless. So I wasn't all the way out the door with Ruthless yet, but I started my own company because I still needed to make money. I needed money to support the company. So I took my hard-earned, saved $1,500 and sent it to a promotion person up here to work KSOL for me.
And
And
did you have to go in the station and stuff with the guys and like do all that, or
no, not initially. Not initially.
was there anything like you always hear about it mainly. I mean, even the 50s, 60s. Was there payola at all at that time?
You know, I can say I don't know. I gave the money to a promotion person.
Got it. Got
And
it.
he did whatever he was supposed to do,
Got
but
it.
he didn't do it initially. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he's a friend of someone that I ended up working with just recently. And he would tell me how he would be with him back in the 90s, and he would open up these envelopes of cash, go pay his bills, take people out to dinner, all this other stuff, but not do whatever he was supposed to do to promote the record. So it literally took this guy 6 months to get my record on air, and literally everyone had to call him, you know, don't screw Atron over. He's a good guy. He's a friend of ours. He's my friend. I mean, literally, there was a point where I called my brother. I have an older brother who's 10 years older than me, and I finally called him and said, you know, this guy took my money. He didn't
Mm,
get the record on the radio. My brother asked me his name. I told him. About 4 weeks later, the record was on the radio. I have no idea to this day what happened, but
sure.
all I know is my brother made sure my record was on the
But
radio.
the guy got the record on the radio, and then digital starts to really like. Is this like? Is this 1990 or is this 91 or is it
Oh, this is like 88.
late 80s? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like probably 88, 89. Probably 88, actually.
And so at that time, was digital still? Were they still all in character, like character and
Oh yeah,
costumes and props?
from day one.
Yeah. So that
From
was
day,
always part of the concept
yeah,
of the band,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
is really interesting because, where's my note? I saw that movie, Nothing But Trouble.
Uh-huh.
Because I knew we were doing this, so I had read something that, most people think Pac's first movie was Juice, but reality is he was in this Nothing But Trouble.
Right.
And so I'm like, so I looked for it and I caught it and I watched it, and it's got, for those of you who want to check this movie out, it's got an amazing cast. I thought the movie was terrible, but it's got Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, John Candy. I'm missing people, but it's got a big cast.
Yes, yeah. I you know, that was the first big movie set I was on. That was a $30 million movie back then.
Yeah, and the movie was written by Peter Aykroyd, who I think's Dan Aykroyd's brother, I'm
Yeah,
assuming. But the movie was terrible,
you know,
and the cast, those guys were all at the prime of their acting careers at that
yeah.
time.
No, I look at that, and I was just like saying this on the podcast yesterday, that I think that was Warner Brothers' gift to Dan Aykroyd because he made them so much money.
Ghostbusters and stuff. Yeah, it
Yeah,
must have been a favor because
yeah.
and ironically, I thought digital was great, and Shock's great. What's funny is that Pac, because I was looking for him, because it's listed that he's in this movie.
Hmm.
He's not credited though in the movie that I saw, but he's kind of like an extra. Like he's with the band there, but he doesn't really talk.
Right.
And I was watching his face and like see, because he's just so, he obviously was an amazing actor and artist, but I knew this was his first film, sort of. So I was focused in on him to see what his reactions were and whatnot. And that I watched that movie. So you were on the set for that movie.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. You know, the first time to be on the set of a movie, and it had that type of budget.
Yeah.
You know, so when you have that type of budget on movies, you're sitting there, and people are walking around. You know, do you want a massage? Do you need some food? Do you want this? I mean, it was just carte blanche. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. So you guys, this movie's called Nothing But Trouble. Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, and Demi Moore, right? Was it she?
I would assume so. I mean,
I think it was. I think it was Demi Moore.
yeah, it would make sense.
Was with Chevy Chase. Was Chevy Chase's girlfriend? So it's like this. The movie's not great, but it's worth checking out. But Digital Underground has a pretty decent part in it, and you get to see Pac in his almost infancy.
Hmm.
So so now so Digital has success, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sure everyone's seen the documentaries and whatnot. So Tupac, how does Tupac get involved with Digital in the beginning?
So in the very beginning, Layla Steinberg, and that, and it actually goes back to my Ruthless days, because I met Layla Steinberg from touring with Ruthless.
Okay.
And then later on, she called me and said, I have these guys I want you to meet. And it was Ray Love. It was a group called Strictly Dope, and it was Ray Love, Tupac, and DJ Diz. And so what happened was, Pac went down to the studio without the other guys and auditioned for Shock. And that was kind of mine and Shock's thing at the time. If he liked someone and I liked someone, we signed him. But if either one of us didn't like him, then I wouldn't sign him.
Did he go down there on his own on purpose?
No, yeah, no. I set up a meeting for him to go down there.
Okay, so did you not think the other guy, the group itself, the three was not a good group?
No, it wasn't even that. It was that Ray Love's dad didn't want him in the music business, so he couldn't go down to the audition.
Oh God!
But I still eventually signed Ray initially.
Okay.
So Pac was originally in a group called Strictly Dope.
And so Pac auditions for you and Shock, and you're like, this kid's great. Let's get him involved on a roadie, or what? How'd you get him immediately?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was, let's sign him to TNT. Let's sign the group to TNT and let's do a demo. Let's start shopping the demo. So we were working on a demo, and then, as groups do, and I always say this, groups are, almost every group changes or breaks up, and you probably know that more than most. They either break up before they get started, they break up in the middle, or they break up when they've reached the top and everyone wants to explore their own creativity and artistry.
Yeah.
Well, Strictly Dope broke up before we could even finish the demo. So then Layla started working with Ray, and I started working with Pac. And so, we did a demo for Pac, and, shopped it all over to a bunch of record companies. No one wanted to sign him. Digital was getting ready to go out on the road. Pac needed to work. So, there's a long story behind it, but, separate from the story, to keep it moving, Shock agreed to let Pac come out on the road. And, everyone likes to say Pac was a roadie and this and that. Well, everyone carried bags. We didn't have necessarily roadies, Fuse carried his own turntables, Shock carried his own bags. When I was out there, I carried my own bags. Everyone carried bags. So everyone helped everyone else. But Pac, being an artist, he was also on stage. Shock made him part of the show, because the goal was eventually for Pac to start putting out his own records. And so if you go back to Nothing But Trouble, when it was time to do the next set of songs, which was the EP release, and those songs from Nothing But Trouble were on there, same song was one of those songs that came out of that movie.
Yes. So that's Pac's sort of national introduction to the radio and video. Everyone remembers the video, because that's what you did back then. Is videos were the songs, I mean, it's almost like video was first,
Yeah.
So how do you guys decide to put him on that track in particular, and who wrote his verse?
Pac wrote his own verse, and it was Shock's decision to put him on the track. It was just kind of it was more of a natural thing. He was next up. There were other groups. There was Gold Money. There was Smooth. There was other people, that were on the label, but he was kind of just next up, and he was the one traveling with the group at the time too. So it's just kind of a natural process.
Yeah, and that verse is monumental because it broke him. And so my next question on here was, obviously that hits. People are like, who's that dude? And you keep replaying the song, waiting for that part. And then you look at him and you're like, this guy's got it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take your eyes off of him. That's the truth. I've been a Pac fan for many, many years, like before his death, like a real Pac fan, like my favorite hip hop artist of all time. But so as this video comes out, the song is doing really great, and he's starting to get recognition. Was there animosity from the other artists, digital or the other artists at TNT?
No, everyone was family. And if you look at almost every other artist's record on TNT, everyone was in it. So there are other artists on TNT. There was Gold Money, there was Funky Aztecs, there was MC Smooth, Digital, and Pac on TNT. There were others that were part of the management company, but weren't necessarily part of the record company. If you go through everyone's early records, everyone's on each other's records.
Got it.
Pac's absolutely on everybody's record or video.
So take us through the success of that song for Tupac. Then what happens next with him in particular?
Well, then we get a deal eventually with Interscope. It's a startup company at the time, and with Tom Wally, and then we go on and start making his record. And Shock initially was going to produce the whole record, but we had so many people and so many producers around us. I mean, you know Shock, he's just like such a giving guy.
Yeah.
And so he didn't want to take all of it for himself. So he's like, why don't you do some tracks and submit them? You do some tracks. So everyone submitted tracks. That's why you have 5 or 6 producers on that album. And Shock ended up only doing 2 or 3 songs, I think, on
Tupacalypse.
On Tupacalypse now, yeah.
Yeah. So now at this point, are you managing Digital and Pac at that point?
Yeah.
Wow. And you're also executive producer on some of the records.
Yeah.
So you're just like, and this is like prime time, like Digital hit. Now Pac, now they gave birth to Pac, and he's hitting.
Yeah. No, we had a full staff.
Wow.
We had a full staff, and we were working, and that's the thing. Like you said, there's younger people that'll be watching this, and you got to work. There's so many people that want it, and I just looked at some statistics. I get a newsletter every Friday, a digital newsletter talking about what's going on in the music business and especially digital and streaming side of music business. There's 60,000 songs being uploaded every day.
Oh, I believe it.
And there's only 7,500 artists or groups making over $100,000 a year.
Yeah, it's a very small percentage.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of traffic out there. I managed an artist who does really well on streaming, so well that he doesn't have to do anything else. So for some people, when they hit on that, they really hit big, especially if they own it, which he does. So for him, it's just been remarkable. So Tupacalypse now comes out. Obviously, it does well, and everyone's like, "Who is this guy?" And so there's still no animosity, right? Digital's doing their thing, Pac's doing his thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
So how does I think I know the story, but I might be wrong. How does he get the role in Juice? Was that an audition he was supposed to go with, or he went with Money B for?
Yes. So we were in New York. I don't know if we were doing the Apollo at the time. I'm thinking we might have been doing the Apollo. That might have been the reason we were in New York, Digital Underground. And they were up at William Morris, and they're like, these guys are looking for, young artists, primarily rappers, to come and audition for this movie they're doing. And they asked Mun if he wanted to go. He's like, yeah, Pac. And Mun told Pac, come with me. And so he went with him. And it wasn't that Pac took Mun's role. Mun was there wasn't necessarily a role. There was, if you've seen the movie, there's 4 characters, right?
Yeah.
So you're just auditioning, and if you fit one of the roles, you fit one of the roles. If you don't, you don't. And Mun didn't fit one of the roles, and Pac did. And so there was, again, no animosity. I mean, it was all love. You're happy for your brother if your brother gets ahead. That's.
Everyone must have assumed too that like he went to performing arts school, like he was already versed as an
Yeah,
actor. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like he just. I mean, he's raw, but he was already trained.
yeah. He was a trained actor. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd done Shakespeare, and like you said, he went to a performing arts school. He wasn't just a rapper. He was actually a trained actor.
And so you saw sort of the transformation of him from, I don't want, innocence is a weird word, but you saw his transformation both as well, just as a human being, but as an artist. You saw him go from a performer to like superstar. Now, what happens with your guys' relationship as his fame just skyrockets?
I mean, I don't know what it looks like from the outside. Because I'm on the inside, I don't know. But on the inside, we were all fine. There weren't issues. I mean, I should take that back. Were issues, but the issues weren't unresolvable. They weren't chaotic. They weren't, I'm gonna kill you like it is today, or
Yeah.
it's like, man, I'm mad at you. Well, let's work it out. Let's go sit down and have dinner. Let's meet, and whatever it is. But it was nothing as it related to success. Everyone. I mean, because you got to think, it wasn't like digital wasn't doing well.
Yeah, no, they were doing
And,
great.
I mean, even you look at Gold Money, they had a new record deal. You look at MC Smooth, she was traveling all over the world at the time. So they might not have, you know, Pox might have skyrocketed, but everyone was
Yeah,
doing. There wasn't anyone that was doing badly.
it was all love with everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah. So, do you? So as things go on, and obviously when artists get fame and they get mega, mega, mega fame, so he's obviously got a little bunch of lawyers now. He's probably got agents. He's got. So, do you transition roles, or do you kind of like what's the path once he's like at all eyes on me?
Um, you're talking about that record or just a
Well,
general?
just leading up to that,
All right.
leading up to those records
So so
after Tupac.
so I picked Tupac up at the airport once, and he said, "I want a manager that only manages me." And rightfully so. Pac was like a sponge, and he was a brilliant guy, and people think he was all over the place, but he was really really a brilliant guy. And when he saw something, he wanted that to be. So he was signed to me as a manager, and as a label, and we had all these complicated contracts that spelled all that out, what the differences were, and all of that. So there was clarity, because there's people that do things like me, double dip and triple dip, and I just didn't do any of that. But
Good.
I know a lot of people did. But so they
Sure.
had a lot of clarity. But he came to me and said, he wanted just one manager, someone that would manage him. I'm like, man, I can't do that. So he went to a family friend, Watani Tiamba, and sought him out to manage him. Watani called me and said, Pac wants to sever his contract with you. And if anyone knows Pac, if he didn't fire you at least once, then he didn't like you. So we severed our contracts. We worked out a deal, severed our contracts. About 3 months, and Watani, he was part of the Panthers, part of that organization. So he was not about to hurt another black person. That's just not what he was about. So if you notice, you'll never hear anything bad about me from Pac. Never, when he wasn't with me, you'll never hear any of that, because that was not what they were about.
Mm-hmm.
But would always call me because he didn't have any music business experience. He had hell of a lot of life experience. He had a great relationship with Pac. He was a businessman, so he knew how to move. But there's a lot of things, intricacies in the business of music that he didn't understand. So he would always call me. So at some point, he's like, look, man, I need to bring you back on. I'm going to go talk to Pac, and we're going to bring you back on. You'll handle this part, and I'll handle this part. And so there was a few months where I didn't work with Pac, because he wanted someone that only worked with him.
Yeah.
But that didn't last that long. Watani talked to Pac, and we all talked, and I came back in. But
Cool.
Pac's smart. He severed all the contracts.
Started new ones.
Yeah, so they're all new contracts. So percentages shifted.
Yeah. So you guys were splitting at that point, probably, or something.
Yeah, yeah. So the
Yeah.
percentages are much different. But Pac's smart. He
And
was,
so your relationship sounds like it was always great with him,
yeah.
you know. And obviously, you know, I'm sure you've talked about it a million times. I mean, you know, it sounds like he got sort of caught up in that thug stuff. I mean, obviously it was thug life, but it sounds like he really like was entrenched in it, and the whole Vegas thing and some of the other things that happened were so unfortunate and almost unnecessary, you know. And I'm sure, you know, the world lost. I mean, I can't even imagine what he would be right now. But I want to ask you about him, because how do you think he would have handled social media?
You know, I get a lot of questions like that. You know, how would Pac have handled social media? How would he had handled social injustice at this time? And
Yeah.
oh, you know, there are a few people who articulate it pretty well. I'm on a Clubhouse talk every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. It's called Truth
Yeah.
About.
I jumped in last night a little bit.
Yeah, I saw you.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to answer, because where would an almost 50-year-old Pac be today? If he was the same as he was, he would have been the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah.
But 25 years later, it's just hard for me
Yeah.
to. Everyone has conjecture, and I believe they could be absolutely right. I just don't do that, because I don't know. You know, there's a saying that Muhammad Ali says, if
Yeah.
you're 50 as you were 25, you wasted 25 years of your life.
Yeah.
So the 25-year-old Pac, he would have been the loudest voice in the room, the loudest voice in the country if he could possibly be. He would be talking about all the injustice. He would be marching. He would be leading marches. He would be starting marches. He would be the biggest person on social media leading the charge. That's a 25-year-old Pac. The 50-year-old Pac, clueless. You know,
Yeah.
you'd like to think that, but you know, who knows what experiences he might have had. I mean, first of all, if he would have lived, he would have been shot. He would have been robbed and shot, and then shot, you know, and shot again. Who knows how he would have moved? You know,
Yeah.
during
I
my,
think at this point, oh, go ahead.
is with his spirit, he would have kept moving the same way for quite a while. But
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, so I want to get into some of this then and now, you know, because maybe you can help some of these artists. I know obviously the music business has changed just in the last 10 years, but it's clearly changed in the last 30 years.
mm-hmm.
So, what's some of like your best advice to give unsigned artists at this time in the world and in the world of music?
Well, I'm gonna give the unsigned artists some advice, that something that Pac did. You know, seeing as how we're talking about Pac, look at what the top people are doing in the area that you're interested in. Pay attention to what they're doing. Try to mimic them, but don't be the same as them. But mimic their work ethic. Mimic all the things that they do. So whether it's independent, or whether it's with a major, or or people that have investment money, you know, whatever it is. But look at what the top people are doing. I mean, you know, like in your business, you know, you found a niche. You know what Live Nation and all those guys are doing, but you found a niche within this 1,000-seat club circuit. And
Yeah.
I remember when you started, you
Yeah.
know, that, what was it, Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset Boulevard? What was that club where we walked down the stairs?
We did the Key Club. We
I,
did
that
14 Below in Santa Monica. We
think
did,
it was the Key Club is the one.
yeah, with
Yeah,
that lounge in the bottom.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, but you found your niche.
Key Club.
Oh, wow, look at that.
We have a merch deal with them. They're out of business, obviously, but on our store. So yeah.
But yeah, so you know, you find what people are doing that are like you, and try to mimic them, but don't be the same as them. And you know what? You got to work hard. You
Yeah.
know, when I started, and we were doing hip hop specifically, that there were no rules. There was no game plan. You know, there was just us on the West Coast, and we just were doing records. We didn't look at, you know, we could have this Bentley, or we could have this house, or, you know, we could have own this island, or we could have these branding opportunities. We didn't look at we didn't know about any of that stuff. That stuff really didn't even exist. They didn't think rap was going to be around any longer than 10 years. They thought it was just going to come and go like disco.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It's now a worldwide phenomenon. It has changed socialization of multiple countries. But we didn't have that blueprint. So now I would just say, look at what other people are doing. You know, now music in general is changing. You have to look for more branding opportunities and people to partner with. Don't look at it as so much as a competition, but look at it as look at each other as an opportunity to work together, and people will gravitate to whoever they like. You know, so many people are, you know, the competition should be about who's making the better music, not about personal competitions with each other. And that's what I would say to younger artists. You know, I have to do my plug about my solo piano group.
Yeah, no, that's I'm going to bring it up right now.
You're probably,
So what artists are you working with currently? And you still have TNT?
I still have TNT.
Okay, so are you signing artists, and what type of artists are you currently producing, managing?
So I'm not really signing artists right now. I'm more kind of project oriented. I do represent the Johnny Guitar Watson catalog, which has just been like a dream for me. I do projects with Stanley Clarke, who, you know who Stanley is, but you know, I like to say he's the #1 jazz bassist in the world, #1 bassist in the world. So I do projects with him. I have a project I call the Solo Piano Group, which is a bunch of pianists that that I brought together to work on music that's specifically to relax to.
Yeah.
So the project that we have out, well, we have a song that came out today called Essence, but the project came out 2 weeks ago, is a Piano and Rain project. And the project we have coming out in May is piano waterfalls and ambient sound that's specifically this particular one's at 432 hertz. That's specifically to bring clarity and relaxation. And it's scientifically proven that I did that. So I put a little bit just underneath the music, and you can hear it in the beginning and you can feel it all the way through. And, you know, I did this twice. So, you know, as you get older, you sometimes have issues. So one of my issues is blood pressure, right? So I've talked to my doctor, literally have a blood pressure monitor out here on my desk. And so I checked my blood pressure earlier in the day, and it was okay. It wasn't perfect, but it was okay. After I listened to the solo piano group, the mastering with the ambient, with the 432 hertz that I put in it, it dropped 15 points on one side and 10 points on the other side.
Wow.
I don't know, but it's supposed to work. It's scientifically proven to work. You know, running around in the clubs looking for the next hip hop artist is kind of not what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to contribute music because I think music, you know, contributes to the whole and well-being of the world. And so I'm doing something now that I hope people will listen to. And, you know, especially during this time, I mean, everyone I talk to has something going on, you know, because either you've been hiding because of COVID or this or family members, or, you know, it could be anything, but there's tension. You know, even if you don't realize you're tense, you have tension just because of the energy and space of what's going on in the world right now. You know,
No, you're 100% right. And I've listened to Solo Piano Group because you sent me the music, and I have listened to it on my Spotify, and I've had coffee to it. Now I like chill ambient music anyway. That pieces me out. So especially in the morning, I like to listen to that. So I have listened to it, and it really is great. So you guys definitely check out Solo Piano Group on Spotify, and I'm assuming
and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We just started our YouTube channel a couple weeks ago. So if everyone can go and subscribe to that, that'll be helpful. And, you know, however you listen to music, it's there. So whether it's YouTube, Spotify, we have a Pandora radio station, you know, the whole thing. And, you know, it's been a little tough. We literally started this on March 20th last year, the week after the pandemic got shut down. So it's been a little tough, but, you know, by August, we'll have 6 albums out. And I didn't even realize that. We're you know, we're grinding. We're grinding.
Are they all in California, or are they throughout the country?
All the pianists are in the Bay Area, actually, and they're all
great. Okay.
they're all very, they might be music teachers, run music programs at colleges. One of the pianists is, a lot of people won't know who Count Basie is, but for the people who do, he's a traveling pianist for the Count Basie Orchestra. So he travels all around the world. So they all, one of them does a lot of underscores for the History Channel. And for people who don't know what underscores is, it's the music that goes underneath the movies, not the songs that are on top, but the little sounds and musics for people who don't know what underscores are. So he does that. One of the pianists was Lettucey's music teacher. So,
Wow.
they're very, very accomplished people, but they're just not the ones that are in the forefront of
Right.
positions. And
Now, if people like, could people submit music to you, or are you just like not you can't you're not really?
people do all the time, man. The what it takes to be successful, and I've tried over the last 3 or 4 years to put some hip hop out and put some R&B out. Really, really talented people. There's a person by the name of Jacob Lusk, who was American Idol finalist. He was a top
Mhm.
talented singer. Um, but and he works hard, but you have to have an extraordinary work ethic to get past 60,000 songs a day.
Yeah.
Period. You have,
Yeah, I mean, there's so much music out there, and everyone's trying, and it's like, but I say this whenever we do these because, we have different guests on here that work in the music business. And I always maintain this that you guys, great music, it's always going to find its way.
yeah,
If it's great, it will find its way to somebody who can do something with it. And I mean, great, it's unique, like Atron's talking about, it's different and it's amazing. So keep working at it because it will find its way. If you're making that kind of music, great music can find an audience,
yeah.
right? A
That,
great actor can't find an audience all the time.
and
So yeah,
the good thing about today's that if you work hard, you don't necessarily need a record company because you do have YouTube, you do have
yeah,
Spotify, you have TuneCore and CD, and now you have people that have been in the music business for a long time that are giving even different type of opportunities where you can go in and they'll distribute your stuff, you'll own it, and if it starts to pop a little bit, they'll help with promotion. They may even help you find, connect you with the major label. So there's a lot of different opportunities now that just weren't out there. And I believe all music has an audience, but you
yeah,
have to find it and you have to be willing to go through the ups and downs to find it. You know, you may go to 10 different audiences, 10 different platforms, and that's not for you. And then the newest platform, like I think there's a platform called Lum or something like that. I downloaded on my phone. I don't know much about it. Maybe
yeah,
that platform where your audience can find you. You know, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's Spotify, maybe it's Pandora. Maybe it's through WeBook Bands.
yeah. Now is that I was going to ask you, but is the biggest difference for an artist between then and now? When I say then, let's call it the last 30 years. Um, is the biggest difference now that an artist can do this independently, whereas it was much tougher back then?
you know, you got to think. I started independently, so I've always been independent. It's a different type of situations. Like you could, if you were within the group of people that were doing art in LA or the Bay Area at the time, there was the independents were always available to you, but you had to search them out. You don't really have to search them out anymore. They're looking for you, because TuneCore, as an example, they charge a fee to put your stuff up there. And if you don't sell one download, one stream, you still have to pay that fee. So
Yeah,
for you now, before we had to search them out. That would be the only difference. It was always there, but that would be, and you'd have to pay a lot more money. I mean, I could take my cell phone now and probably make a song in 5 minutes, and by tomorrow I have it up on TuneCore.
yeah,
All the different apps and stuff.
yeah,
You know, I could do a lo-fi beat or something, and I don't know how good it would be, but I could do it. and have it up in a couple days.
And I say this too to aspiring artists. You have to have you almost have to have a brand at this point, because like Atron's talking about, there's 60,000 songs a day being uploaded to streaming or whatever. But you have to have, now with, you've got Instagram, you've got all the social media and TikTok and all this stuff. You've got to have a physical brand. Or what makes you different?
Yeah.
Your music might be different, but you still got to be visible with that music. And you know, you look at someone like 6ix9ine, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not particularly good, at music, but he's a mastermind at marketing,
Yeah.
and he's a mastermind at creating his character. Whether you like him or you hate him, you know who he is, you know what he looks like, and so this kid was able to do this in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and he did it himself, really, as far as the brand.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you the name. I don't know if I've ever heard of one of his songs, but I can tell you what he looks like.
Yeah.
I can tell you what's happened to him in the last 2 or 3 years, what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you I've listened to any of his music, and I'm sure there are people who love his music, but I'm not even really familiar with it.
Yeah, but he's like a national name, and
Yeah.
he created this villain. There's a Showtime documentary on right now about it. You know,
Like you said, branding. I mean, we're getting ready to we're doing scented candles that are in that same genre of
brilliant.
It's the first one we're doing is lavender and sage. We have a independent tea company we're working with. We're doing specialized teas. Our tea's called Glow. You know, we're doing all the things that you're talking about. I'd forgot to mention those things.
No, it's great.
That
stuff's huge.
That's coming out in May with our Piano Waterfalls music. So
I talked to a guy who he makes wine, and he does it in South Africa, and he plays music in the winery where they're making the wine. So the music helps cultivate the berries.
uh-huh.
And so a certain album will play for like 3 weeks straight, wherever they cultivate the berries and whatnot. And so the music influences the wine, the actual production of the wine.
Right.
So he was a startup. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, send me a case. I'll check it out. You know.
Yeah.
But it was super cool, man. And I want to end with I want to ask you one question. Maybe you can't even answer it, but if you can, in your mind, in your stoic career, because you've had an amazing career, and for those of you who just joined in, you'll be able to check this out on our YouTube and our IGTV. It'll be on our Instagram, so you can rewatch this if you missed any of this. And again, the WeBook Band's YouTube. What is the greatest song that you feel that you were a part of? Well, that you were a part of. But what's the greatest song you feel that you were in, that you were really in on? There's probably a bunch, but which one stands out? And who was it?
You're right. I can't answer that question. I don't know, because the songs to me are also part of an experience. So I could say when NWA did the last show in Detroit and they did Fuck the Police, that experience was like none other. I could say when you're at the Budweiser Superfest and you're at a stadium and with 60,000 people doing the Humpty Dance, you know, or I could say when I was at the Apollo, or at a show with JJ Fad when we did the Run DMC tour, and they did Supersonic. You know, I mean, there's just so many experiences, and I think the songs are more about the experience than the greatest song. I mean, I could say when Pac was in jail, we put out Dear Mama, and the album went to #1 while he was in prison. You know, the songs are also part of my life experience. So to say one is greater than the other is tough. And I could, you know, when we got a Johnny Guitar Watson song in Ozark, as an example, you know, one of my favorite shows on Netflix.
Oh, great show.
I mean, I think they're doing a new Narcos, and we pitched for, you know, to put those songs in Narcos, and that's another one of my favorite songs. I mean, I could say when I was at the Grammys and we were nominated for a Grammy with Stanley Clarke, and it was Last Train to Sanity, and we were up against John Williams. We knew we weren't going to win against John Williams. You know, a lot of people, you know, on this probably have no idea who John Williams is, but he's a super composer, and he does
Star Wars, right?
yeah, Star Wars and everything
Yeah.
else. So I knew we weren't going to win, but that experience being in the Grammys, hoping maybe that they weren't going to vote for John Williams and they vote for Sandy, you know, so they're all experiences. You know, when I told you about how my blood pressure dropped today from the solo piano group, they're all experiences for me. So for one song to mean something more than the other, or to be a greatest song for me is a tough answer because of that.
Now, are you working on a documentary or a book yourself?
I'm supposed to be.
Both or documentary?
So we have a Tupac documentary that we're working on called The Early Years. It's pretty much finished. We're just shopping it right now. I'm supposed to be working on a book. I started it and stopped it, and then I have an opportunity again to start it again. But I also have a couple other documentaries. I have a jazz documentary I'm working on. There's a whole period in the 70s of jazz music that people totally missed out on, but it brought us some of our greatest jazz musicians of our era now, and they're now all getting older. I mean, one of them's Chick Corea, who just passed.
Yeah, died.
And so there's a whole story that hasn't been told about jazz, so I'm working on that. So I'm not working on a documentary specifically for myself. I also have a couple television shows I'm working on. Every project has its different levels of where they are in space and time. And so I just put one foot in front of the other, and we'll work on all of them. And some will come to fruition faster than others. And so there's a lot of different projects I'm working on.
Awesome, man. Well, it was so nice to have you on this, and thank you so much, man. And I hope soon we can link.
Yeah.
I know Shock was telling me digital, we're not going to do anything till the 25th anniversary, but that seems to have passed.
Well, and now, you know, there's been this forced hiatus, and I talked to him about it recently, but we're going to revisit again to see if, you know, but, you know, like you said, there's not going to be any real touring this year.
Yeah, but when it's time, you know, I think everyone would love. No one's seen digital, and I don't know. The last time I did them was 07 or 08. I mean, it's probably been a dozen years since anyone's seen digital play. I know
And,
they
you know,
were doing a
he's
different.
been with Young Hump. I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know about that, and I knew Money B had a little side gig too, a little other band that he was. I saw him at the House of Blues
Mm-hmm.
Foundation Room one night. But yeah, I mean, let's hope we can get some digital shows, and let's really wish you the best of luck with Solo Piano Group, and
Thank you.
please stay in touch with me, and you guys follow Atron on Instagram, and he does have these podcasts or these rooms on Clubhouse. There are Tupac rooms every Wednesday night at 8 p.m.
Yeah, and then we also have a management room that we do Tuesdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The art of artist management. Yeah, just follow me, and the projects will pop up on my pages because there's so many different things that we're working on.
Dope, man. Yeah, and I'm gonna send you some stuff from shpmarket.com, which is
Yeah,
our
please.
website where we're selling all these hats and all this cool stuff. So I'm gonna get you geared up. I can't thank you enough, Atron Gregory, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you, man.
Thank you, man, and I appreciate you having me, and good luck. I mean, I know 2023 is going to be great for you. I mean,
We're still holding out hope for 2021.
I'm in 2022, not 23. 2022.
Well, that should be great. We're hoping that about 6 months from now we're we like to do 3 or 4 shows a night. I mean, that's how we
I know.
work. We're advancing 3 tours at the same time, and Nelson's booking all this stuff, and we're all in the lab, and that's our world, is making stuff happen at night. So we can't wait to get back to work, and we can't wait to be just overwhelmed with shows, because for us it's gratification to see how the whole show comes together, and then the artist rolls into town, and then there they are, and that's the culmination of our work when the crowd gets in there and is cheering. So we'll get back to that soon, and can't wait.
It's going to be like the Roaring '20s, man. So you're going to have lots.
I think so, man. That's why we're keeping our finger on the pulse. And for all you up and coming musicians, like, take Atron's advice. Be great, be different, take from others, but be yourself and learn from others. And everyone stay safe, and we're going to wrap it up with some announcements, and thank you again, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Take care, bud.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I don't know how to click off.
Oh, I don't know how to do that either, but you can stay around for the announcements if you want.
Oh, there we go. I'm gone. See you later.
All right, bud.
All right, bye.
So there you go, guys. That was Atron Gregory. Again, if you joined us late, watch this. It'll be on our Instagram tonight. It'll be on our YouTube. What's our YouTube? Is it We Book Fans or Sean? Our YouTube is Sean Healy Presents. It'll be up on YouTube probably tonight, but check it out if you got here late. Our merchandise, shpmarket.com, shpmarket.com, oh, look at that hair. shpmarket.com, shpmarket.com, equality hats. Upcoming, Domo Wilson, March 6th, Free Nationals, March 12th. These are live streams. Little Zay Osama, March 19th. And my next guest, you guys, on this, March 26th with Steve Lobel, okay? Lobel is a super OG. Steve Lobel knows everybody, and basically Bone Thugs and Harmony, Nipsey Hussle, Steve Lobel, artist management, legendary, will be on here March 26th. And then on April 30th, we have Crooked Eye, King Crooked. So he'll be on here talking about the music business then and now. And thank you guys so much. So you want to support us, shpmarket.com for the merch, and stay safe. All of our shows, get the newsletter in the link in our bio. Sign up for our newsletter. So if you're a band, you can find out about what shows we're doing, where we're looking for openers. And if you're just a fan and you want to find out what tickets are on sale, everything is in the link in the bio on our Instagram. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you next month with Steve Lobel, and we'll see you at the end of April with King Crooked Eye, and more to come. Stay safe, everyone. Live music's coming back, I promise. Take care, everyone. Peace.